Hello, everyone. Welcome back to day 2 of Adobe Live with your host for today, which my name is Jess Moon. I am one of the designers on XD, and joined with me is the lovely, fantastic, amazingly talented Talin Wadsworth, principal XD designer on XD. Hey, Talin.
Jess, what's up? And here you are, understating your role once again. Just a designer on XD.
I'm that's
so much more than that. It's the amazing, talented. Jess, you're amazing. Don't understand.
Oh, stop.
You are. She's the beating heart of this team. Honestly, really.
Oh my gosh, it's too much praise. Too much praise. Well, thank you for that. And for those tuning in who have seen us before from yesterday and hopefully in streams in the past, we are excited to share with you a wonderful, intergalactic, amazing podcast mobile app experience that we started off on this journey with yesterday. So hello, everyone. Hi, folks.
Welcome back.
See a lot of good folks in the chat. Hey, Howard. Nice to see one of our lovely XD evangelists in the chat. Cornell and Julia. Hi.
Cornell from yesterday.
Say hello if you want.
We're going to have to pick his brain about the of XD.
Hey, who was it that mentioned the flippy thing? Are you going to do the flippy thing?
Yes, Rob, if Zilla's back, we're gonna do the iOS widget thing today. That's the first thing we're gonna do here in a minute. But yeah, we're gonna do some of that today.
And hello, Hamza. Welcome. For those who are new, we spent some time yesterday doing some cool stuff in XD to demo some of the latest features we've been doing. Oh, hey, that is awesome. That cup.
Megan finally sent one to me. I had lost mine at work. So I finally have it back, and I was very happy to make tea in probably the best swag we've ever done.
Love it
for XD. So.
I mean, you made it, so everything you make is magic.
I'm a little biased. Sure.
Yes. And before we get into our live stream today, I did want to make a quick shout out around what to expect after today's show. So we are on today from now until 2 p.m. Pacific. And then afterwards, please join Jesse to go check out the daily creative challenge for XD. I'll talk a little bit about it later today. We'll also be spending some time at the end of today's segment reviewing some of the work that's been submitted on our Discord. And then at 2:30, join the lovely Andrew and Simone on the Designing in the Dark series, which is interesting. They are not actually designing in the dark. They are simply designing with an immersive experience of feedback from the chat. And Talin has mentioned that in our own segment that he enjoys the same designing in the dark ethos. And so if you are interested in giving your feedback to Talin as he makes magic today, please do throw it our way. I will read it. I will make sure that he hears it and experiences all the lovely creativity and perspectives that folks in the chat have to offer. So I think people want the cup now. This is what happens when you show very cool swag on a stream, is they want your fancy cup.
These are great. These are my favorite cups, really, that we've ever done. So we did these for the UX Leader Summit that Jess and I concocted with our amazing community team. And of course, we would be doing more of these this year, except for, global pandemic. So unfortunately, that this is kind of a relic now. We don't have any more of these.
Only temporary relic.
Only temporary. Here I am being fatalist. That's not a good look for me. But yes, no, we'll get back to that at some point. But we did these for Max, Adobe Max last year. These cups. And Adobe. This is actually the version though from Max Japan.
That's cool. Yes, we have traveled a bit. I mean, one of the perks of working on XD is, especially as a designer, is that you get a lot of opportunities to really just spend time, not with just the community of fine folks, but also like in person. And so we do travel a bit and do these kind of events to really kind of get a pulse on the community. It's always one of my favorite things to do.
That's the best part of the job.
Especially with this dude right here. Anyway, enough about just how much we can go on about each other. And
always.
You gotta like get on with the show. Tell us what you're gonna work on today.
roll it a little bit. All right, here we go. Oh yeah, Cornell just saying thanks for the portfolio review yesterday. Hey, we appreciate you.
Oh, Cornell, your work is fab. Thank you so much for letting us look at it. Amazing stuff.
The XD redesign as well. We found very intriguing. Of course, always like, and it was just fascinating to sort of see like kind of your perspective, right? Like it's a way to actually for us to learn about like how you work and how other UX designers work, and kind of like by what you prioritized and what you called out and specifically. And I don't know if you caught the video yesterday, but a lot of the things that you're going to be very excited about this year about the work that the team is doing. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So yes, here we are creating our continuing on the creation of our Galactic podcasting application, also known as Spacecast. So if you weren't with us yesterday, we are designing an app, a podcast app, a space casting application, inspired by my love and obsession with the Midnight Gospel. The Midnight Gospel is an amazing existential journey through space in the form of a cartoon, an animated show. Definitely not for kids. But Clancy, our main character, he travels. He's a space caster. He is the content creator of his age, some distant future, where he is traveling the universe and all of these other dimensions and bringing back stories as podcasts, as space casts from all the amazing people and souls and beings that he meets out in all these different universes. And so we of course, I love the aesthetic. Can't say enough about the aesthetic. We kind of honed in on some of these really interesting UI details, and said like, what would a space casting app, again, if I want to listen to Clancy and his amazing space cast, like what app experience would I have to kind of come in and experience that? So that's what we're designing. We are designing a space casting application where we can tune in to all of the amazing stories coming to us from around the galaxy, the universe, and of course all the interdimensions that our minds can travel. So yes, here we are.
Very, very exciting. And we did some pretty fantastically fun stuff. Showed off a couple lovely features. Yes.
So here we are. We did a little Auto-Animate down here with our little transmission signal. You see as I hover over it, little animating sort of radio brainwaves, all those things beamed to us from all over the galaxy. Yes. And we also did, of course, a lot with scrollable groups, just how easy it is to sort of create kind of a dashboard home experience just like this.
Look at those names, those puns. I love them. Yes.
The everyone in the chat yesterday sort of stepped up to the plate and provided us with some amazing pun names for our shows. So they are now our featured content creators here in the Spacecast. If you have any more fun puns or galactic ideas to sort of go along with this, please send them our way. And you can see us kind of like putting in practice some of those style cues. See some of those sort of little elements. We could have created all of these in XD. And then we also did a little couple variations on that where we showed just some more applications for, say, like for animation. We showed kind of some looping animations. We did some of that. We dabbled in
I love that one.
Transform. Which we're going to go deeper in today. That's pretty cool. Yes. So yeah.
And can we have a shout out to how awesome the palettes and the colors are? Because one thing that we also did at the end of yesterday's segment, due to some of the lovely encouragement of the chat, is that we shared a lot of these beautiful colors at CC Library. For anyone who wants to actually look at this, it's actually out there, public and available in the wild.
It is indeed. I published it and actually just updated it because I just added a new component, little play button. So we can actually go and come on, Creative Cloud app. There we go. We can actually go and see. Here is our Spacecast library.
Yes.
All of our cool colors and components.
Yeah.
available out there for all of you to go and to create your own work in our universe here of spacecasters. Val.
Spacecasters.
Yes, like that. Val actually was. I wonder if she did it. Val, did you do anything with these colors yet? Right. If you all go and check this out via the link, which I think Val still has, she'll put it in the chat. You can actually click on this to follow it, and then if you open up XD or you open up Photoshop or Illustrator or Fresco, our nice color palette and then all of our components will be there and be available for you to use and to riff on. So
you said yes in all caps. I think that's excitement.
Okay, Val, you got to send that to me. Send me the DM. We got to put it into the app. Send me a Twitter DM.
You in all enthusiastic caps. I made you app icons. I didn't actually. I can't. Like I have to do my best Val voice, but I can't.
I'm so excited right now, Val.
Yes.
Okay, Val's gonna get that to me, and we're gonna drop it right into our app here. So yeah. Omen's back with us today.
He changed his name. I feel like there wasn't a lot of spaces. In all caps, there's a bit more decoration to that name now, which is great. We notice these things. We do. And hey, Eric, welcome to the call. To cast.
Eric
Cast.
Coming in from my home state of Utah, I believe. Eric is in Salt Lake or around Salt Lake. I think he is, if I remember correctly.
Very cool.
Eric, how are you? Good to see you in the chat. So let's see. So Omen had a good question. So can XD create the actual app for podcasting? That's and he added to please. So I think maybe he wants to see.
Start a GoFundMe, like a Talin Justice's Spacecast show.
No, we're really trying to, XD is mostly for prototyping, for design and prototyping for you to kind of work out some of those problems before you kind of go spend that time and money and energy in creating a real application. It'd be great to solve some of those experience problems earlier. So XD is mainly kind of focused on that, but we do have, of course, the design spec feature where you can publish a design spec, so you can deliver a spec to your developer so they can get that one step closer to getting the information they need to implement. Of course, you can share a prototype. What's a prototype and what's a real app, but sometimes it's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell
sometimes. So you can also do that lots of different ways to kind of achieve your goals. But yes, creating a real app out of XD.
And for those who are joining, we're about to start and get some designs going, but since it is Talin and me, feel free to throw your feature ideas our way. Feel free to throw some suggestions that we may mysteriously at. If you have any questions you want to just ask around how we design in XD, this is your chance. We are happy to oblige throughout the next hour and a half together. So yeah, feel free.
Yes. And so yesterday when we were dabbling with 3D Transform, my good friend Robzilla, the illustrator, talented illustrator, I met him at my first Adobe Max. Not my first one. He was my second one.
When was your first Adobe Max?
My first Adobe Max was about 10 years ago.
Oh.
No, it was 9 years. I think it was because it was.
Wow.
It was nine. Went to my first Max about 9 years ago now. And I think I met Rob at the next one. So I think I met Rob at my second Adobe Max.
I see.
Yeah, but he's been a good buddy of mine for a long time. Does amazing work. You guys should go check out his work. But he has a great suggestion yesterday. So we were talking about 3D Transform. And of course, if you're not familiar with 3D Transform is this amazing new feature that we launched at Adobe Max this year. Here in the property inspector, if I have any object selected, I can turn on 3D Transform. And what this does is it gives me brand new decoration on canvas. And this is my favorite part. You can interact with this to actually rotate objects, your UI objects in 3-dimensional space. So here I can rotate it around the y-axis, around the x-axis. Look at that, flip it around. And I can also move it forwards and backwards in space. Look at that, coming right at you off the screen.
Yes.
And of course, the really cool thing about this is that this isn't like destroying your your designs at all. And we kind of covered this a little bit yesterday, where you can actually go in there, and if I selected this text here for the title of Zilla's podcast, Black Holes Matter, his Galactic podcast, Spacecast, I should say, you can see that it actually hasn't changed size. It's still at 16 pixels. It's not being scaled up. Like if you wanted to do something like this today, as you know, or previously, not today, but previously in XD, because you can do this today in XD. If you want to do this previously, and Howard can attest to this, you'd have to do some really weird things to get this effect. You'd have to scale things and break things apart and, like, you know, sort of tweak them to just make it appear, you know, that it's like, you know, rotating or coming forwards and backwards in space. But now you can just do that directly in XD without just by having this fun little interactive widget right here.
I like to call it the new non-destructive, right? The new non-destructive.
The new non-destructive.
It's more non-destructive than non-destructive actions, which is pretty nerdy, but unless someone can think of a better term, non-destructive squared, I don't know.
Non-destructive squared. The new, I like the new non-destructive.
Exponentially non-destructive. Yes.
Howard says it also, when in doing that previously, it also had desks. A lot of flipping desks. Would be yes. Flipping, you know, desks. Funny. Howard and I, leading up to Max, we were just like riffing and like kind of trying to one up each other with 3D transform examples via Slack. We were just like like sharing work with each other, like, oh, look at this cool thing you just did with 3D transform, and then like Howard would take it and he would do some crazy thing and he'd send it back to me. He's like, oh yeah, well look at this, and then it was back and forth and back and forth. It was a good time. We should do a design off, like you and Howard. Here's the next idea for a stream: is Howard versus Talin. I will be the judge. I will stir the pot, and you two can just design off on the most fanciest, most epic flipping 3D transform out there. Howard would totally win. Some of the things that he's done, I feel good that I just like set the stage for him to then go and like do amazing things. But you should all go check out his videos on
True. He can probably run laps around all of us on this stuff.
Oh my gosh, guy, he's so talented. All right, so Zilla had a great idea yesterday. He brought up, and it's actually one of my favorite examples of and actually why we did 3D transform was actually you see a lot of UI designers, a lot of UX UI designers wanting to use dimension, wanting to use space as a tool to kind of help with navigation, trying to help you understand kind of like where you are spatially within an experience. Yes.
How thematic.
Exactly, right in there. And of course the best example of this, and well, the most kind of out there over the top example you'll find is in iOS. Actually, iOS, if you open up Safari and you go to the tab browser, you can see it just like cascades out into this like shuffle, like these cards, like the tabs all rotate in space, and they're really trying to give you a sense of like, you know, what's on top, right, which is the latest tab you have, and then what is the previous tab you have, which is behind it. And they want to give you, and utilizing the small space that, you know, there's there on your phone, the sort of, you know, size of screen on your phone, right, they want to sort of give you that sense of direction, of spatial information. But one of my favorite ones, which is launched in the latest OS update, is actually the widgets. So if you know the widgets in iOS, and I actually have this one here at the top, I have this the little widget thing, the little widget card. And what you can do with that is if you swipe on it down, you can switch to other widgets. And this is what Rob was talking about yesterday. And if you notice what's happening here, and it's actually quite complex and actually quite elegant, the cards appear, and this is a horrible version, the cards appear to kind of as you drag them, kind of fade back, and then the other card kind of slides forward and slides up.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, Rob brought it up yesterday, but I was like, that could be a great example for 3D transform. And I was just like, oh, well, it actually so happens that I designed this little listening pod. Kind of, it looks like that widget. So I was like, well, yeah, let's do that. Let's design an interaction using 3D transform for this widget, for our app here, that has a little bit of that iOS widget kind of vibe going for it.
I mean, that sounds epic.
We're gonna do it. Yeah. As I wait for Val to send me the app icons that she did for us. Val, I'm waiting.
No pressure.
No pressure, Val. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm zooming this other completely non-related window. Why is that happening? Okay. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take this and we are going to design a little interaction. And there's a little bit of a limitation currently, is that I think in the future, what I would do is I actually build this as a component. But we wanted to get 3D transform out there. So 3D transforms today, you can't 3D transform in a component. You will soon in the future. Team is sort of getting that up and going. But today we're going to do this kind of, again, like how you would do it today before we launch that feature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use 3D transform. I'm going to use Auto-Animate and a bunch of other features here to do this. And I'm going to copy my artboard over here, and we're going to start kind of putting this together. And I've already kind of like done this once before, or at least I tried to do it once before. So I've worked out a little bit of how I want to do it. But but we're gonna go for it. So here's what I want to do. So I've got this container here, and on this container I essentially have this little card, and we're gonna think about the card and the content separate from the container. So the container is the little window that the little widgets sort of slide up into and sort of slide back behind, and it's our little window into that world. And so what we're gonna do is, for temporarily, did my mouse just die? Where did my mouse go? Okay. I'm having okay, that's dead. Okay. All right. So while I figure out what I'm going to do with that mouse, hold on one moment. And then of course I can't charge an Apple mouse at the same time as using it.
Whatever. It's okay. In the meantime, I will take this moment to show off my little dog, who is definitely annoying me right now on this stream. Hello, everybody. Zura, say hi to the world. This is my little boy. If you see me every now and then glance to my left, it is because this little boy right here is like, hi, who are you talking to? That's not me. Yeah. Who are you talking to? That's not me. There you go. So, some context in case you're wondering why Jess keeps glancing over to the left.
Just keep glancing. Okay.
One of the new things.
I've plugged that in. It'll charge for a moment. I'm just going to so I've got my laptop up on a stand over here, just so you all know what's going on. I'm going to be like, my right hand's going to be over here on my laptop, and my left hand's going to be over here on my keyboard, and I'm going to be staring at the camera right here. Okay, here we go.
This is why I use tethered mouses in life, by the way.
That's oh, look at you, all sparkly with LEDs on there. My goodness.
I mean, I like the game. I've got to look the part.
Okay. So here I've got this container, right? This is my container, and actually I'm going to duplicate this because right now this is, and I want to create a container with some cards. So I am going to I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to turn that border off, and then I'm going to move our content over here for a minute because we're going to come back and we're going to place that in. And then I'm going to make, this is our container, and our container is not going to have a fill. So you can see what I have here as I have two things. I have this container and I have this. So I want some cards here. So this is one of the cards of a few cards in this widget that I'm going to have. So I'm just actually going to do a repeat grid on this real quick. No, actually, hold on a second. I'm not going to do that, because if I look at the visuals of the widget, this is like the zoomed in card. If I think about this is like where the card is kind of like at that, that plane of the screen. It's at 0, and then the other cards in the list are going to be behind it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to duplicate this, and then I'm going to turn on 3D transform, and I'm not going to scale this. All right. So the thing I would do previously is I would scale this, which would of course now distort everything inside of it. So once I go back and I put things on top of it, and just for purposes of that, I'm going to change their color, and I'm going to push this backwards in space, by, I don't know, I think we're going to make this pretty dramatic. I think one of the keys of motion and interaction design is like subtle doesn't work. Subtle doesn't read very, all those little subtle animations, all those little tiny changes from percentage to percentage point. It doesn't really work. So we're going to be a little dramatic about this today. So I'm going to do, Yeah, like I'm gonna push it back like negative 120. Let's do that for now. Right. So this is the card, and so what it's gonna do is that when I drag this, it's gonna slide up into place. So all the other cards we're gonna have are gonna be at negative 120. So I am going to basically I'm going to duplicate this up here, and I'm going to change it to a different thing here. Same thing there, and I'm going to do that. Okay. So we've got our cards here, and we got our card that's now kind of like at 0, zoomed up at 0 at the plane of the screen. And I'm going to group those together because this is a window, right? So I don't want to be able to see those. So I've got our little frame here, and I am going to mask those. So I'm going to mask all of those cards inside of our little window, right? Okay. So that's what I've done here. And I want our little little border to be on here. And if you look, we're going to do this because it's for this purposes, but we're actually going to make it almost in line with what iOS is doing. So we're going to use a little background blur on this. So I'm going to do a background blur. It's turned on. Actually, let's wait on that. I don't. There's nothing really behind there that would really make sense with this background blur. So let's just keep that. Okay. No. Do I want that? No. Okay, I do want that. Oh, sorry. So I'm problem solving here. Trying to remember how I did this before. Okay, yes. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna give it a fill. I'm gonna do that. We're gonna do background blur. There we go. That's what we want. Okay, and I'm gonna put that back and behind here and turn off the border. Okay, so now let's see if I move that. Okay, that's gonna be there. Okay, great. Okay, so I've got that there. I've got my cards. They're inside the mask, and as I drag, right, I want the top card to kind of slide back, and I want the next card to kind of come forward. So that's what we're gonna do next. All right. So put this to the side here.
This feels a lot like a cooking show for me, where you're like you're explaining what you're about to do. I have no idea what techniques you're applying here, and you're like whisking the eggs, whisking until they're airy.
Here we go. Hopefully. Oh no! What just happened? Oh no! Something just went down. Okay, let's go back. What do we got? Okay, here we go. For whatever reason. All right, so we've got our two screens. So here's what I want to do. I want to go in here, and I want to put this. So this is the card. I'm going to do the drag down first. So I want to take this card that's visible now, and it's going to go back. So I'm going to move it to 120, negative 120. Okay, there it goes. So now it's pushing back. Yes.
I think it's funny. You could put a number, a value to drama.
Okay. And then what I'm going to do is move these all down.
Ooh,
right?
Yes.
Because I'm going to auto-animate. And then I'm going to put this at 0, like that. So it fits in. So now it's going to be, when it stops, it's going to be inside of the frame. Right.
It kind of reminds me of like the Price is Right wheel, or whatever the wheel, the thing that you're spinning.
Totally. It totally does. I totally
date myself from the 90s there. But yes.
No, it's a classic. It's been on for so long. Also from like the 60s. You could be from the 60s if you want. Beautiful. Okay. All right. I'm going to move these up a little bit. Okay. All right, let's see how this works. So I'm going to go into prototype mode, and I'm going to select this component, and I'm going to drag and drop that wire onto the next screen, it's artboard, and I'm going to do a drag, and I'm going to auto-animate, and I'm just going to give it a little easing, little snappiness.
A little snap.
Let's go and preview this and see how this works out. Okay, so here we go. What? Oh, I know why. Because I'm on the wrong screen. Okay. No, I was on the right screen. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Oh, what did I do? Let me go and try a tap just to sort of a way to kind of debug this a little bit. Let's see. Okay, it happened really fast.
That was
Let's slow that down. Too fast even. I think I know.
You have a special number, by the way, for your interactions. You were mentioning this in the past stream. You have a sweet spot number.
So I like a 0.3. 2.25 is.
A nice 0.25.
0.25 is back when I was doing motion work in After Effects. The rule of thumb was 0.25. 0.25 is a speed that your eye isn't going to feel like it's off. It's not going to see the lag. It's not going to see the sort of all the imperfections in that transition. 0.25 is just a nice standard sort of value for any kind of transition. I kind of always stick with it, whether you're doing that transition in Keynote or you're doing that transition in After Effects or in XD. Around up to 0.3. 0.3 is fine. If I want to see what's going on, if I really want everyone to sort of see what's going on, I usually double it to like 0.6. So yeah.
Oh yeah, there it is.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's the core of the interaction. I think the reason why I was getting off on the drag was probably because of the ordering of some of my layers, because I've got the border frame, I've got the objects inside of the mask, and I've got a sort of background underneath the objects inside the mask. So there's probably something going on with that. That was probably why the drag wasn't working for me. So we're gonna go debug that here in 1 second.
Yes.
And also, I'm not seeing. Are you feeling that snappy? I'm not feeling that's like snappy.
Why? I mean, I guess snappy. I don't know. It's got a nice snap to it. It's got a
little snap to it. Let's just see what it looks like with a bounce.
Oh boy!
That's a little too much.
I have to admit, I don't think I've ever recalled ever using the bounce ease.
Yeah, the bounce is not.
It's not like ever. I know some people have used it for their interactions, but I can't recall the last time I have.
I guess there is a little bit. Oh, you know what? The bounce is being the border is kind of obscuring the bounce a little bit. That's what's going on.
I see.
Yep, that's what's going on a little bit.
Yes.
There. All right.
Well, lovely.
There you go. So, if you want to know how, let me go. Actually, I'm going to delete the border because I'm going to show you what's really going on with like the iOS thing. So I'm actually going to delete the border because I actually really love this interaction on iOS. There's so much going on with it. The wind up, Oscar, that's not a bad idea. We're going to try that next. We're going to get rid of our little border there for a second because I wanted to sort of show you this kind of crazy thing that I end up doing to really imitate what's going on in iOS. So, and see if I can fix the drag first. Let's go fix the drag. See if the drag works for us there. Now it's a tap, drag.
Oh, I bet you it is the border layer that.
No, what is that? No. Let me see what's going on here. I'm going to delete that interaction. So when you're in prototype mode, again, like this is everything here is really tailored to help you prototype. And so when you have something selected, you first, what XD is looking at is actually the interaction. So when I have it selected and I just hit delete, it doesn't delete the object as it would in design space, in design mode. It just deletes the interaction. Very handy. Okay, so that's the mask. Let's see. So now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to double click in and I'm going to select the card itself. And I'm going to put the drag on that. Let's see if that fixes it. Let's go and check that out. Yep.
There it is.
That was it. Because there was nothing to drag because on the border, the little
container.
The container doesn't move. So I had to double click in and put the interaction on the card itself. And now we're gonna do one more because I think it's actually better in this case to sort of for the interaction to sort of see not just back and forth, but actually see a whole progression. So usually when I'm doing something like this and there's more than one state, to get a good feel for it, to kind of debug it overall, I think it's nicer to do a progression, to actually see, instead of back and forth between 1 and 2, instead of seeing it, to actually go 1, 2, 3. That can actually kind of help you and kind of look at, evaluate, and debug the animation a little better. So I'm going to do that there. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to double click into the group here, and I'm going to select the group, and I'm going to slide them down. I'm going to take that back to -120. I'm going to move this forward to 0. Awesome.
Yes.
I have to move that up by 1. Okay, great. Okay, now let's go in and go back to prototype mode and select that object here, drag, auto-animate, and then drag, auto-animate.
Yes.
Okay, great. Let's check that out. Okay, so I'm here, I'm previewing, I'm over here, and I can drag down, and I can drag. Oh, did I put it on the wrong thing again? I may have put it on the wrong thing again. Okay, drag, auto-animate. Okay, let's try that again. There we go. Okay, I did. Something's off there too. Nope. There we go. Ooh, look at the gradient, how the gradient kind of lines up on that card. That's cool. There we go.
Wow, that's smooth.
It's really nice. It's very nice.
That's really nice. By the way, not to distract, but I did do a little thing, which is that our lovely moderator in the chat, Val, has graciously sent along the icons. And so if you just scroll up a little bit to your canvas, I've gone ahead and added those that she put in that library.
Goodness. What?
Yeah. So nice. I like how she put all these disclaimers in the chat, like, I'm not really a UX. It's like, Val, these are gorgeous. What's wrong with you?
Gorgeous. What are you talking about, Val?
Don't judge me. I'm judging you pretty hard, and I think it's awesome. So
those are so cool. Oh, I love it. I like this one right here.
I know. I love them.
Really nice. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, we gotta put those in. Are you gonna put those in the design? You're gonna you drop those. You drop those.
No, I don't know where to put these things. Just here to art direct from us.
All right. Okay, my mouse is back and working.
Yes. It's charging.
It's still breaking in my animation, in my interaction. Oh, it's because I somehow deleted that one. I see. That makes a ton of sense now. Nope. What's going on here? Something's going on here. Drag. Okay. What's going down here? Oh, do I know? Oh, I know what that is. Yep. I don't have it on the right. Yep. I need it on. I did not have it on the right thing. I kept doing it on the border. That's what's going on. There we go. Now I got it. Yep. Boom. Okay, cool. All right. So there we go. Little drag animation going on there. So the crazy thing that iOS does is that it actually very subtle. It the border expands as you drag it, almost like the window is opening up.
Yes.
It's kind of crazy. Let's see if we can do it. That's that one. Okay, this one. Okay, here. So then when I'm oh no, can we do it here? I'm trying to think. Because then it settles back. I had to have an interstitial. So I'm just problem solving as we go. Okay, I'm gonna leave that there for now because I think that's good. Actually, I'm going to put the border back now that we have that. Now that we've got that debugged, I'm going to go back and select that border and bring our border back so we can keep our vaporwave aesthetic going strong here.
By the way, just kind of thinking about all of this for the past, 10 minutes of venturing into this 3D space, I'll say this is that, I think that what you're doing here and experimenting in-app to create these experiences is something that I wish more people did when they work in design tools. Like, I think people jump in and they do what they're familiar with, myself included, honestly, sometimes, where you do what you do, the things that but it's actually kind of why, I swear I didn't go into this, but it's actually why like those daily creative challenges are so helpful, because you're suddenly kind of given the challenge to really test your own knowledge of the system, right? And I think that like one of the fun things about our stream, hopefully, is that none of this is like pre-programmed. We're like, Talin is literally thinking of this on the fly and trying to figure out, how do I make this work? And so, it's a good kind of like, it's kind of like working out, right? It's like a good flexing of your muscles to see if you really understand it. And like bit by bit, every time you go back in the app and you're learning these things, it makes you become that much better at creating really awesome and rich interactions that are super creative, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's fun. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that really motivated me when I was first working on XD was actually this intuition, this the thing that I'd learned over time, that like the apps were really working against you in a lot of ways, because there were so many actually like things for you to connect, right? Features that you had to be able to connect to kind of achieve a really successful outcome. Like to make that thing that you wanted to make, you had to go use, click this thing and then this thing and then this thing and then this thing and this thing. And then essentially you were training yourself to do that like over and over and over again. And it was for producing essentially the same result. And so it's not like the fault of us really that we end up kind of falling into that, right? That because the process of getting there just has a lot of baggage that comes with a lot of overhead, right? And so, when we were first doing Sparkler, which became XD, one of the first like taglines that we really landed on, that was actually in one of our earliest decks, was this idea of design at the speed of thought. That basically, that if the tool got out of your way and gave you the tools that you needed to be able to be successful and helped you get there faster, that not only could you do a design, like make a successful design, but you could actually make your design better, because the more you could design and iterate, and the less time you spent sort of fighting the tool to get the results that you wanted, and then the more variations you could try, the more ideas you could evaluate, the more more concepts you could visualize, right? You could if you could work faster, you could actually do more. And in doing that and doing those constant and all those iterations, again, like you're never going to be perfect, because like what is perfect? But the better you're going to be, the more iterations that you've done, the more problem solving you've done, the more feedback you've gotten. Like the faster you can do that, the faster you can get as many ideas down as possible, the better your designs will be in the long run. Absolutely. And that was the real. I mean, I brought that with me from. I mean, there's like design school every day. I would walk in and my professors the first thing we had to do was put our work up on the wall. What have you done since the last time we met? You had to put the work up on the wall for everyone to critique. And if you only had like one thing, your feedback wasn't going to be very good. It was going to be very limited. But if you had like 6 things, a dozen ideas up there, people could really evaluate, could really interrogate like what it was you were trying to communicate, and really help you kind of reach that end goal, right? And your design was better because of it. And those are things that just kind of were lodged in my brain. And so every time I could feel when Illustrator was slowing me down, and I could feel when Photoshop. That's why I was never a big Photoshop user, because it didn't allow me to work quickly. That's actually like why.
I was going to say that there's a lot of truth to kind of what you're saying around just that process as a whole, right? I'm a really big fan of exercises that really kind of push like lateral thinking, where you are trying to put you're trying to be expansive in the way that you push your brain, and you're trying to create as much as possible, as much divergence. And I think that in and of itself is like almost like a mental muscle that you have to really exert, right? Mm-hmm. And it's why I like things like Crazy 8 exercises. It's why I like give me the classic like lotus petal exercise, where you have a piece of paper, mm-hmm. and you fold it up hot dog style, hamburger style, until you get 8 boxes, and mm-hmm. then you just sit there and you're forced to actually think of 8 concepts, right? You have to fill up those boxes. It's incredible actually what your mind can do at that point, and how it can riff if it's given that kind of I want to say boundary, but it's almost like the anti-boundary of just trying to push you to kind of keep thinking further, right? Mm-hmm. Process your brain further. And so that in and of itself, and like, what you mentioned about putting something on the top of the wall and really being able to kind of get that valuable critique from a much more expansive take on how you're thinking about stuff is huge. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't agree more on that statement.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think that, I don't think we realize, like how much sort of slows us down and has sort of stops us from reaching our full potential when it comes to.
Well, there's the refinement part of UX, right? And sometimes I think, we all have that like perfectionist, refinement, craft part to it. And it definitely is that fine balance of being able to say, how do we drive that like really great experience? But if you don't give it enough time beforehand to breathe and let all of those ideas really come out, you might end up refining something that's actually not the right thing to refine.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Interesting.
What else is interesting is this design and how you are bringing Val's lovely icons to life in this fantastic space cast that Rob Zilla, he used an overlay. My goodness. We go. Oh, it's so pretty.
There we go. That's good. That's feeling pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's nice. Mm-hmm. And for those who are just joining us right now, just kind of recap what you're looking at, because you're probably wondering, why is there random neon people on this screen and what is Talin doing? So we are designing a Galactic space cast. I was going to say space app, a space cast, which is basically a play on a podcast, where this lovely neon character named Clancy, taken from the inspiration of the show,
The Midnight Gospel,
yes, where he is basically a space caster reflecting on all sorts of aspects of life. And so we took a lot of that beautiful coloring and styling, and now we are making what would be the thing that you would use on your iPad to listen to his space casts, mm-hmm. and listen to other people's space casts, because we've got folks in the chat who are now also Sims is what they're called. Are they called Sims?
Simulation farmers.
Simulation farmers.
We're all simulation farmers. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm going to rework this a little bit, because now that we've sort of got the core mechanics of it down, now I'm going to have to sort of like kind of look at it and say, like, how do we get the content in there? So it's always, again, like once I've sort of worked it out, I can always, I'm going to be able to do it faster kind of from here on out. So I'm going to go and I'm going to get rid of, we'll come back to this. We'll do it again. And now I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to, because one of the things I am notoriously bad at, and I'll just tell you all up front, is naming my layers. Mm-hmm, naming my layers. I'm very bad at naming my layers.
I am too.
I
used to be, when I designed in like other apps, I used to be a very good namer of layers, and I never named them anymore in XD specifically.
Nope. Well, some
I
of the
really
other
need to.
No, until you start getting into doing to more, more complex, things like exactly. That's when you start to need a little bit more for sure. But no, Howard's right. We're 100% in a simulation. Yep, Howard is correct. This is all a simulation. No, I again, like, this is one of the other sort of things I've been thinking a lot about. And actually, I was just talking with our newest designer, Ruba Shabu, about this, was just like actually how an experience really can tell you how to use it. And even though you're not really thinking about it that way, but an application, and again, like Photoshop is all about layers. And that's why layers are so sort of integral to the process, and why a lot of people who came up using Photoshop like really name their layers. Like they really understand the importance of naming their layers, because naming the layer naming, like handling layers, is kind of like front and center in the experience. Like if you don't know how to manipulate layers in Photoshop, you're going to have a bad time. But in XD is much more like Illustrator, where layers are a utility. You know, as your drawing, or as your design becomes more and more complex, you might need to go and sort of handle layers, but the model of selection, the model of interaction is so direct in XD and in Illustrator, that again, like you don't need to name your layers, because the layers aren't kind of primary in the experience. You have other tools, other things that are available to you to be able to manipulate your designs to be successful. So layering starts to play naming your layers starts to play a different role, you know, inside of Illustrator and XD than it does inside of Photoshop.
Mm-hmm. By the way, actually, that reminds me, it's funny that we're talking about this, because I feel like I'm such a different designer from, you know, like 7 or 8 years ago than I was, than I am today. And maybe it's partly the tools that are making me a different designer. Maybe it's just my own habits that I've picked up. But, you know, I remember specifically having a conversation with someone that I used to work with a long time ago, where I'm telling you, I was the person who named everything. Like, even if it wasn't even something I was going to use, I still named it, right? And I definitely had like a whole naming convention, which I still do use naming conventions to this day, right? Like, but you know, everything from like, especially when I was designing in like Photoshop, for example, like I was a really big layer comp user. And so I would have like different kind of naming conventions for that. And then I was pretty adamant actually about, so the other thing that I was adamant about is like way back when, many years ago, there was a feature that Adobe had introduced for folks that was, what is it called? It's basically where you can auto-select, right? Auto-select objects on canvas. And that was like an intentional checkbox that you were able to do, because before then, most of the object movement happened in the layers panel specifically, or if you use the move tool, like if you actually use the tool to actually allow you to arrange things. And so for me, I was a classic like person who would use that tool. I would be moving things in the layers panel, and I never engaged with the canvas. It was always kind of like PI and stuff like that. And I remember telling, you know, this designer who worked with me, I was like, you know, your layers, like we've all heard the meme, like your layers are an absolute mess. How is anyone going to navigate through your file? It's atrocious. I can't use your file, period. Clean it up, you know, go through and name things. And then it's funny because like at that point, I was very adamant about that kind of process. And then today, I name nothing. I only interact on canvas. I don't even know what the names of my objects are. And it's just not even a thing for me anymore. It's just wild how I guess in summary, I'm reflecting on the fact that it's wild how different our behaviors are as designers as we create things. Well, that is my thought.
And the tool is shaping it, whether we think about it or not. The tool is shaping like how we work.
I mean, I live in the assets panel. I don't live in the layers panel. I'll use the layers panel if I'm trying to debug and figure out specific auto animations and such. And you know, I'm actually pretty good at naming my artboards, I'll have to say. Pat myself on the back for that. Honestly, not always either there. I named the first artboard though, always. I don't know if folks are like that, where you're like, yes, I'm going to name the first artboard. And then like 15 artboards later, they're just all like numeric values. But anyway, you know, I definitely think that the tool is a part of that too. And just kind of process. I mean, you don't even need, I don't know, you don't really need to, I feel, for a lot of the time.
Yeah. So the reason I'm sort of going back and naming it now, I think, is because naming layers is really important to Auto-Animate, right? There's Auto-Animate, one of the core concepts of it is that it for it to track which objects are the same and then animate between them, it relies a lot on layer naming. That probably won't always be the case, but that's how it is today. And so, I'm going to go back and I'm going to rename this so that can auto-animate. It's actually much smoother. It's much easier for me to handle, for auto-animate. But if I wasn't doing auto-animate stuff, I would do exactly what you do, which is rely on the assets panel, because the assets panel really helps set me up for designing, a system for, my UX UI design.
Exactly.
So, yep.
That said, naming is great, folks.
Naming is great. Naming is great.
You should name things.
Name things. Yeah.
Name things. Yep. Name things are great. Naming things.
All right. So
I feel like I'm gonna go back. The team's gonna never name anything again. And then I feel like, why didn't you name it? And then they're gonna be like, because you said on Adobe Live today.
Yeah, exactly.
It's okay.
Nobody has to name anything.
Can't walk that back.
Nobody names anything.
Except when you have to deliver it to a developer.
Yep,
then you have to name everything.
Then you have to name things. Yep. Yep. Bam. Okay.
Look at these wild colors. It's making me want to have some okay, I was gonna say kakigori, but I'm gonna say snow cones because that's the one that makes more sense to probably this audience. But then that little Japan nerddom is kicking in that, like, I do love a kakigori, shaved ice, but this is making me just want a snow cone right now. These colors are wild.
Yeah, they are. Look at that. We're having this is vaporwave, baby. We are full on vaporwave aesthetic here.
Wouldn't it be great though if this is how more applications were built nowadays? If there was just this kind of, I don't know. Here's the anti-trend rant for today is everything's just white background with 2 accent colors, or flipped dark mode, dark background with 2 accent colors. That's like half my apps on this phone.
100%. I mean, like, I'm not saying that I'm a contrarian by any means, but yeah, I like to I mean, how are we going to figure out the next thing if no one's out there taking chances, yeah. Yep. Okay. So
give me a purple background, dark mode.
Yep.
Which would be cool.
There you go. Actually, really funny. So early in the days of Spectrum, which is our design system here at Adobe, they put together a web prototype of Spectrum and how it should work. And in this web prototype, you could actually, like, because this was more about them just showing the interactions for the UI itself, it wasn't like an app itself, but you could actually retheme it on the fly in the browser. And so I have some really horrible screenshots somewhere buried in my desktop here somewhere in my machine of actually XD with orange UI and green accents.
Ew.
Yeah, it was
what? Orange and green. Oh my.
Oh yeah, it was wild. It was wild, but mainly because you could, right? Because who was stopping me? Nobody was stopping me.
Not at that time.
Nope.
I'm glad you were stopped. I would not like an orange and green XD.
No, that would be horrible. It was bad. It was really bad. So yeah. Okay, so now I've got my widget here. I've got my cards. I'm going to mask them again. Bam. We've got that going on here. Okay. So now this is going to be much easier, and I've got all of the different sort of content on there now. So then I'm going to go back into... There we go. I'm going to go back into here, and now again, I can now distinguish and better, sort of understand what's going on here when it comes to doing this. So I'm going to do drag, auto-animate. Awesome. And then actually, hold on. I'm going to do something first. Go back. Because this is it. I forgot to do our 3D transform on these things.
Oh.
So -120, -120, and -120. Okay. Ah. Okay, now we can get back to what we were doing. Okay, here we go. bam. And then I'm going to...
By the way, and having seen you design recently with 3D Transform a lot, I have to say, you use 3D Transform. This is going to sound cliche. You use the way 3D Transform should be used. In that, you know, I think a lot of people use 3D Transform for its like scaling and skewing a little bit and just making sure they're capitalizing on non-destructive squared is my new term for it.
Yes, non-destructive, yep.
But I think that the way you're using it and showing kind of a mix of like transitions, if you will, is really where the power of 3D Transform lies, is the ability to manipulate multiple objects on their own spatial planes and to be able to then kind of create a kind of larger almost like a macro interaction, if you will. Is that a new term now? Macro interaction. But being able to create multiple micro interactions and combine them to create this sort of effect you're doing, which is really neat.
I think that's something really interesting to point out, is that, you know, like a lot of these tools, right? Like you only kind of you can only look at an example and say like, oh, and then say like, oh, someone used 3D Transform to do that. Right? That's how we learn. That's how we sort of, you know, kind of take on and integrate new tools into our workflows. And it's like 3D Transform, when I first saw it, you know, when Anirudh came to me and said, you know, look what we can do now. This is a new capability. We can rotate things in, you know, in 3-dimensional space. You know, initially I was very skeptical. I was like, oh, I mean, that's, you know, it's kind of gimmicky, you know, to be perfectly fair. It's like, oh yeah, maybe somebody would use that, you know, and then that's fine. But it wasn't until, you know, I sat down and thought about how it applied to the things that I was interacting with kind of on a daily basis, particularly on my mobile devices. Again, we're creating a UX and UI tool, right? Like we want to, you know, design features that help towards that end. And it was really that again, I remembered that Google in material design, when they first dropped material design, they talked a lot about surfaces, about spatial information, about using surfaces to denote navigation, you know, to help a user orient to kind of where they were within the operating system. Now, they didn't really go over, if you go and look at Android today, honestly, like it's actually not very visible. It's not probably one of the most visible aspects of it, because actually it's a really hard concept for people to understand, to really take advantage of. So yeah, Google could say that, but they weren't giving the designers and the developers any really great tools to be able to utilize that, to kind of figure out how it would fit into their world, into their apps, or their workflows. And so you don't see wide adoption of those concepts of surfaces being kind of surfaced anywhere inside of Android, at least very rarely. And it's only usually in Google's apps, because again, this is kind of Nintendo's problem, right? With when they had the Wii, right? Like who made the best Wii games? Nintendo did. Nobody else could, because like
it's a hard concept.
It is a hard concept, right? And 3D is very similar, right? It's a hard concept. How do you integrate into your workflow? And so the thing that gave Anirudh and I confidence was actually iOS. Was that, you know, we're seeing all these updates to iOS every year, and we're all getting more sophisticated in our understanding of interactions and how to navigate these digital spaces. And as we've gotten better at this, you know, all of us interacting with it, Apple has upped the game, right? They didn't make a very splashy sort of big PR thing of it like material design did. They just slowly brought in new tools for developers to help, you know, users understand where they were spatially within an experience. And some of it's a little gimmicky, and some is still a little hokey, but it's there and it's embedded in iOS in sometimes very subtle ways to kind of, again, help you kind of, again, understand and navigate, you know, these experiences. And that's the thing that gave us a lot of confidence, and that's what kept kind of helped push the development of 3D Transform. Essentially was iOS Mail, Safari, and now things like the widget swiper, the widget tracker. Like those are the things that really drove the development of and the experience of 3D Transform, you know, in XD.
Yeah, I mean, that's I think that there's a lot to what you just said there. I think that one, I wonder if it means that we're going to make our own 3D Transform features the best because we understand it. No, I'm just kidding. I was going to say, though, it's funny. What you said just made me think of the fact that most of the features that are here, and I would just say not even just XD, but probably in general, as you use different kind of things to do different, whatever apps you use in life, like there's a power to them if you kind of go beyond what you think that they're supposed to be. And so, when we look at features like 3D transform, I think one could easily look at it as a creation feature, like a design feature. Like, oh, you want to manipulate an object in a different plane? Like, that's how you do it in design. And I think the essence of where you're going with some of that and kind of how you bring it to life, Talin, is that, for you, when you look at 3D transform, it's actually almost like a prototyping feature only. It's almost like it's about really being able to use this kind of first step of creation and manipulation in order to traverse like different planes that you would want to do through the expressivity seen in prototyping, right?
Yep. 100%.
And I think there's a lot of features like that that do this, and this is one of them. I would say scrollable groups is another example where like it's less around creating the bounds, but more about thinking about how you're stretching beyond the digital bounds, right? So,
yep. States as well.
Yeah.
Again,
states too.
Back in the early days of talking about states, like when Alex and I were talking about it, like we made a conscious decision, like states were about interaction. Like that's was going to drive the development of states as a feature.
Yes.
Was interaction, not design, right? But interaction.
Yes. I mean, and that said, I'll, take this moment to say, like, now is the time. If you are looking into getting into UX and you're really trying to push yourself in terms of like the next level of how you want to get there, like me personally, and I know Talin, you agree here, it's like the future is interactivity. Like, break away from just designing, right? Like if there is a way for you to like think through and push the boundaries of digital experiences, I would say continue to think about it from an interactive standpoint, because we are just now more and more immersed in a world where we're literally like it's our phones and we're in COVID phone screen, like we're so tied to digital experiences, and we've gotten so good with technology supporting the ability for us to do these great, cool things. Like technology is finally catching up and able to kind of allow us to make these kind of interactions so easily, right? That if you are thinking about the next area that you want to grow your skills in UX and UI, mobile design specifically, even, it's definitely interaction is a huge area to consider.
Yep. Interaction, motion, animation, right? Those things, as we've all grown with these devices and we've learned along with them, we're much more sophisticated and adept at navigating these digital spaces.
As little kids, I see little kids who could pick up an iPad and it just bloop, bloop, bloop. They're like using drag, Yep. It is intuitive.
Yep.
Interactivity is intuitive. And I would say a couple of years ago when we were just kind of getting into the digital space, it wasn't, but now it's here to stay. And we as UX designers definitely need to step it up here.
And, like, I think in terms of differentiation, right? Like part of getting a job, I think is differentiating yourself. Like,
yeah.
Like a lot of UX and UI design is still pretty static, honestly. And so that designer who can come in and who's got the ability to put the pieces together to connect not just visual design and sort of layout, and of course, IA, information architecture, of course, but also, again, how a user is going to get from one place to another, how a component changes states, and then possibly, there's a micro interaction or an animation that sort of changes between those states, and it tells the user something about the space. Like I was sort of imagining sort of in my shower thought, and we're going to try this real quick here, is thinking about like how I would traverse this space. So now I have this dashboard, and my question again, like in the web world, there's this concept that's always been lodged in my brain, where the web felt like I'm moving between pages.
Yes.
Right. And that was the web. And that's historically been the web. But more and more, you're seeing services, apps, websites that kind of keep you oriented within a space, that you're not moving from page to page. The page itself is changing to kind of lead you to the next phase, the next part of the process, that next thing that's going. And so instead of this heavy page loading that's happening, things are just moving and morphing and changing on the screen itself. And again, like that will be more and more of the direction. And as you have more screen real estate, again, like the possibilities of that just keep kind of opening up. So I was thinking to myself this morning, how would this space change? Let's say like if I were to tap on like the transmission signal, which I really loved from yesterday. Like what if we wanted to go out and actually like maybe even like a troubleshoot our connection. I was thinking of I was actually thinking of Among Us, actually. It was the thing to spark this. Like a little task in Among Us, where you had to like connect the wires. I'm like, well, what if we did something like that, but like for our experiences. So I was thinking to myself, okay, how would this space change, but then kind of keep me one tap away from where I just was. So I don't feel like I'm losing context, and I understand kind of where I am. Like, how would this space change? And so I was kind of thinking about that as I was in the sort of mulling it over in the shower this morning. So I'm going to create a little more space here, and I thought we could kind of do that as a little fun sort of exploration. So I'm going to take this screen here. So if we were to tap on the transmission signal, like where would it take us? What would happen here? And so I thought, well, these are essentially like these like panels. As you can see, I've sort of created this little space here on the dashboard. This is like a little panel here in a way, that's sort of floating there, and like then there's all the profile information and all the other information here on the right, and that's kind of floating outside of this panel. But what if that panel just kind of collapsed? And as it collapsed, the transmission signal section actually like expanded. Wouldn't that be cool? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was thinking let's do that. Let's do that.
This is what I love about you, Talin. I feel like I would never have that idea. The what ifs. I think that's if you get to work with Talin, if you have the good fortune of it, you'll find that he's got endless what ifs. And I'm just like, how did you even come up with that what if?
Yes, this is we can all again, like we can always like our ideas. How do we know if our ideas are good unless we try them? Like,
absolutely.
There's just no way for us to know.
Yes.
So let's go find out if this is a good idea or not. All right, everybody. Okay, so this is where we are. This is where we want to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start I'm going to start big and bold, and I'm just going to move stuff around. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to actually scale this, and I'm doing this. It's all right. So what if that just collapsed like that?
Wow.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yes.
Right? And then we could have some fun with that now. We could even actually even have some of these shapes move off like that. Ooh, let's just look at that. Yes. I want to see that. Okay, so I'm going to tap on this right here. And when I tap on it, and I go, I'm using multiple interactions, by the way. Mm-hmm. So this is very, very handy. So inside of XD, again, you see this inside of any UI. Some UI, depending on how you interact with it, does different things. And so when I hover over the transmission signal, right, it does our little animation. It's like, here, I'm working. I'm sending a transmission. But if we tap on it, we can have something else happen, right? Mm-hmm. So when you hover over the component, it changes from state to state and animates. So let's go kind of like look at that real quick. So when I hover over it, but now when I tap on it, when I tap on this component, I want it to take me somewhere else, right? I want it to sort of rearrange. So here, I'm going to do a tap, and I'm going to do Auto-Animate, and I'm going to have it do, because this is a big movement. Okay, so this is a little animation tip. Anytime you have a big movement, and again, this is going to be a big movement, right? We're taking almost the whole screen and we're collapsing it,
ginormous,
right? So whenever you're doing that, you don't want to follow that 0.25, 0.3 rule that I mentioned earlier. Whenever you've got that's only for small movements, for quick movements where we want to trick the eye. We don't want the eye to see all the details, and we want the eye to feel like it's snappy. When it's a big movement, that's like too fast. And actually, we can sort of try that now and sort of see it ourselves.
No, I don't want to see it. It's going to be
here we go.
Slap.
Whoa! Okay, see, that just happened so fast, and some of you, depending on the latency of the stream, you may not have even caught that.
Yeah.
It was too fast. So again, I always start, and I work in increments of that 0.3 in my head, like all the time. So I'm just gonna step it up, double it. Let's see what happens. Ah, that's much better. That's much better.
Nicer.
That's much better. And then, of course, I'm just for debugging purposes, I'm going to do it back the other way so we can kind of test it out. Again, I like to kind of see. That's much better. That feels much more natural. It's got that little bit of a snap to it, which I like.
It's like when what are those the presentations that you would cast? Man, I'm forgetting it.
Oh, like the projectors? The
projectors, yes. And you would just kind of like hit the little curtain thingy, and then it would just shoot. It's kind of what goes on in my head.
Yep.
Onomatopoeias aside.
Yep. Yes, indeed. Okay, so that's pretty good. But now we have to kind of decide what to do with these other things too. So what are we going to do with these other things? How do we want them? Do we want them to roll up? Do we want them to just disappear? Do we want them to go all kinds of crazy places?
Can you just make them go all kinds of crazy places?
Let's do that. Let's do it. But actually, I want to work a little backwards here because I want them all to stay on that that little shelf here. So I'm going to do what I did on the little widget thing that we did, and I'm going to make a mask. So I'm going to work within a mask, within a little frame here, and I'm going to have, again, I don't want anything to sort of like fall outside of the frame. So I'm going to take this background here. Well, first I'm going to group all these up to a certain extent.
Yes.
So that's our nav.
And there's some feedback, Talin, that maybe when you do the thing you're about to do, that you might want to try to make things disappear into the panel behind it, the tray. So.
Oh, into yes.
Howard was exactly like every single one of them flip. We did that flip 2 weeks ago. How many more flips do you want in these things?
Oh, should we we should pull that up and show that. That was a really fun project.
That was a lot of fun.
Okay, so I'm just gonna group these together here in some logical way.
Yes, Val. Prime shenanigans with Jess and Talin. That's all we do here. We do XD shenanigans left and right for 2 straight hours.
Left and right. We just like to, and then just like see where it goes. Who knows? Who knows what this will be? Everybody, it's fun. I mean, we have a plan.
Sometimes do we?
There is a bit of a master plan here, I think.
Speaking of plans, in around 12-ish or so minutes, we are going to shift gears momentarily and do some quick kind of feedback sessions on the daily creative challenges. And so if you are following along, first off, just quick shout out to the schedule ahead. We do have the daily creative challenge for XD coming up at 2:00 with Jesse. And so if you're interested in joining in and challenging yourself to the theme that we've been preaching for this whole hour and a half, please do so. And then at 2:30 again, we'll have a show with Andrew and Simone on designing in the dark. So lots of good stuff. But yeah, we're going to take a look at some creative challenges very, very shortly.
Very fun. Yes. What did I just
end plug?
There we go.
So you're putting things in this tray, this curtain.
Yep, I'm putting things in this mask. And where's our background? Okay, this
a stream or type in a presentation. It's almost like there's this weird juju that happens, which is like you can never type correctly on the first go. What is that?
This is true. Yeah, it's psychologically.
It's like a thing.
It's a performance anxiety, I'm pretty sure, is what it is. It's something related. Wouldn't it be great if XD could just name my layers for me?
Wouldn't that be great?
That'd be really cool. Yep. I like that. Funny.
If only I knew the product team.
Okay. All right. Everybody go upvote auto named layers in user voice right now.
Yes.
Okay, great.
User voice, a great place to give us some feedback on how to better improve our product.
Yep. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to roll up the background, right, as we go. I'm going to turn off 3D transform for a minute because we're not going to use that for this. So I'm going to roll this up here.
Meow. I'd like to just make sound effects for your designs.
I love it.
That's my new job here.
Boop.
Except Howard's got the sound effects.
Howard's got the sound effects.
Whenever he says a boop, I'm just like,
Yep. Howard knows what's up. Okay, so now in the mask.
Voice.
Okay, I'm gonna move. Just move that up just a little bit. Okay, and then here's what we're gonna do. This thing right here it's just going to zoom off this way. Never to be seen again. And then this one is going to roll up as well because we want it up here. Still available. I still want to be able to search. This one is going to roll up to about right here and disappear.
Oh.
And same with these two. We're going to roll up here.
Things go to 0, or do you use, was that for the case of this show? Or?
Yeah, I'm not good at remember. There's a keyboard shortcut, isn't there?
Yeah, it's the numbers.
Oh.
0 for 0. I'm not trying to shame. Oh. Everyone's got their own way of doing it. I was just curious if that was your way.
That is one that I have not been.
Yes, and that's one that stayed with me for a while. So.
Yep. That's again, like I think if I had been a more of a Photoshop user, I think that I probably would have retained that one. But as I said, like Photoshop was just never really my jam.
But you use Illustrator all the time.
Illustrator was, I mean, I'm fine at Photoshop. It's not that I didn't use it, but Illustrator and InDesign were my jam, and Flash as well.
I mean, you could have done that in Illustrator and InDesign is what I'm saying. It is an Adobe wide.
Okay, let's see how this goes. Okay, so let's go test this out.
People aren't, ASWD, that kind of thing.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Oh. Okay. It was planned. It looks great. What do you guys think? What do folks in the chat think?
What do you think, everybody?
That is lovely. I like it.
Yep.
I like it.
Boom. That's really good. That's really fun. I love it.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then the chance paid off. Look at that. How we would have known if we'd landed here if we hadn't tried it.
Well, so now that goes up, what happens next?
Yep. So now what happens next? Yep. So we want to expand out the transmission signal UI.
Okay.
We're going to have a little fun with that. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to take this and we are going to expand this view, but it's not going to be we're going to have some other UI controls on there too. We're going to take a little inspiration again from the Midnight Gospel, and you see these other little UI elements kind of like this, right? We want to pull up some other, and like we're going to be interacting with the signal in some way, and we're going to be troubleshooting that signal so that maybe we can connect to new worlds and get new signals.
Yes.
That's what we want to be doing. Okay, great. Okay, so here's what we're going to, we could just start by essentially scaling this up to a certain extent, right? Like we could just kind of like start there and see where that takes us, right? So we're already seeing some problems here, with some of the other elements in the UI that we've got sort of over here. And so we're probably going to want to figure out what we want to do with those. And so we're going to collapse the profile down. We'll come back and we'll fix this up. We're going to collapse the profile avatar down a little bit here of Clancy. I'm going to move it up here to the top.
Oh, cute.
All right. And we're going to shorten these things in here as well. So let's see.
By the way, random question. I'm just curious now. If you had to pick a planet that you could live on within our solar system, what would it be?
Oh, good question.
Question for the chat, not just a Talin. I am just deeply curious what planet people think would be cool to live on if you could live on it.
I've always been a Saturn fan myself.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Why? The rings?
The ring. There's something about the rings that just there's like, the imagination just runs wild. Or something with a lot of moons. I definitely pick, Jupiter or Saturn.
Oh, Jupiter.
Because like a lot of moons, right? Like there's a lot of potential.
Yeah,
there's a lot of moons. There's a lot going on.
That would be fun. You could take a trip to a moon, right? You could take that. That would be pretty neat. I agree.
Yeah. Val would be a Mars wizard. Yes.
Oh, I honestly thought Val would say Mars. No joke. I was like, what would Val say? And I saw Gus in the chat, so I want to see what he has to say because
Gus is in the chat.
I saw him momentarily.
Gus, what's up?
Yes. Saturn's pretty cool. You could have like a intergalactic race on those rings.
Yep, there you go. I like
That'd be pretty neat. Kind of like Super Mario or something.
Move these things off. I'm gonna do that. we're going to hang this around because, again, we're listening to this. So this thing's just going to kind of come up with our widget's going to come with us.
All right.
And our widget is just going to move kind of nice. You know, sort of settle nicely, you know, kind of like right there. Yeah, the widget's going to just kind of hang out right there. That's pretty good. But we're going to take the... Actually, I'm going to group these together. And then move them up here together. And then I'm going to just zero that. That's just going to go away. That's going to fold back in there like that.
Nice.
Okay.
Most people seem to want to live on only Mars or Saturn, which is cool. They're very like, you know, they're very pretty planets. Howard wants to live on one of the Saturn's moons, which is also neat. I'm more power to you. It's like living on like Fiji or something, but on Saturn.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take that down. Okay, let's see how this is looking now. This is gonna be a little wild. Here we go.
All right. Oh, that is wild. Whoa, that's a lot of
That's a lot of movement. Oh, and that's the hover. That's from the hover because the other state is still small.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. Ooh, that's pretty nice.
That is nice.
You know what I think though? I think here, this little wavelength maybe is only part of the transmission signal.
Okay.
So maybe it itself doesn't grow, but something kind of grows to kind of encapsulate it. Like it's now one panel sort of stacked up as part of our transmission signal UI.
I don't follow. This is one of those moments where Talin has an idea that's really cool and you know it's cool, but like my brain is like, what? Cannot comprehend it.
Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna take this. We're gonna leave this here. Yes. And then we're going to draw a new panel, like a new kind of container, a new container kind of around it like this, right? So do that. And I'm going to use I love this green. I don't know where I love this green. Actually, let's try something different in this one. Let's just to kind of switch it up a little bit. I'll do this. Okay, there we go. So this one is just going to sort of slot in here, and what's going to happen is that this bigger panel is going to come out and kind of like take over and kind of encapsulate all of this. So I've got to, because I've already set this artboard up, I've actually now got to copy this panel's border, and I'm going to paste it back onto the first screen because I want it to animate. I just don't want it. Again, if I go and we do the transition now, let me just show you what's going to happen. It's just going to appear, which is fine. But like, you know, maybe you want to be a little more intentional. Maybe you want it to kind of grow out. And so I'm going to take that border now, and I'm going to copy it back to this one.
Okay.
And I'm going to size it.
I see.
Here. Yeah. Take down the opacity. So now when we click on it, oh, that's nice.
That's nice.
That's really nice. I like that a lot. Very cool. Very cool. All right. So this is now our UI for sort of, you know, fixing our signal.
Yes.
And I was trying to think of one of the Among Us little mini games. I don't know. Are any of you in the chat Among Us players? Have you played Among Us?
Oh, I would certainly think.
Definitely do it with your friends or your coworkers. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But on there you do little tasks. You have to, like, your goal is to not die because somebody on the ship is the spaceship is an imposter, and that imposter's job is to slowly take out everyone one by one. So your job as the non-imposter is to go around and actually complete all the tasks on the space station. And if you do that, if all the non-imposters do that first, they win the game. But if the imposter goes out and kills everybody one by one, they win the game. So there's a bunch of little mini sub games that happen that really just to kill some time in these games, and they're tasks around the space station. So I was sort of imagining this could be something like that, where you come in and you do a little something, and like you connect the transmission, and then the signal's better, and then you're good to go. So that's what I was imagining for this here.
Let's do it. And real quick, because it is 1:31 Pacific right now, I will say that the submissions for the Creative Challenge are over, and so let's see, what should we do? We can take a look at some of those real quick, while I imagine you'll also be continuing some of this work. So let me do a couple button hits here and there, and I can't hit buttons. There we go.
I love the chat right now. They're totally going off on Among Us memes.
Oh yeah.
Garrett, don't be sus. And
don't be sus.
Val's like, Talin is super sus.
Awesome. So, we obviously have the daily creative challenge coming up in 30 minutes. So if you want to partake in it, please do. There's going to be a lot of AR magic and inspiration coming. Talin, one of your favorite things to play around with. Oh, yeah. But if you haven't already, go ahead and check out the Discord at some point. You can submit them there. And I have up here a couple of the submissions from yesterday's daily creative challenge, which was focused on habit building. Something I myself could use more of, given the fact that I am very bad at making new habits. And so this is very much, I haven't actually looked at any of these in great detail because I thought it would actually be more fun to just do a sort of like, not reaction video per se, but just to make it fresh. So I haven't actually seen any of these. And the name is going to be the Discord name. So if in case I don't say it properly, I apologize in advance. This one is from Annie Ann. So let me hit the play button. All right.
Ooh. Oh. That was slick.
Indeed. Look at that.
Oh.
All right. So this is on a, so let's see. So we started with Annie, you have 3 habits today. One is read for 30 minutes, one is meditation, and one is drink water. I love those habits. As a matter of fact, I am actually trying to instill some of these habits right now. Like literally my Kindle is to my right and I'm trying to read every day for 30 minutes. So it's kind of eerie how weird.
What are you reading right now?
Currently I am reading some philosophy, Greek philosophy, which is and called Mediations. And then I'm also reading I'm reading 2 books at the same time. I don't know if people do that, but the other book I'm reading is Ilium. So yeah.
Ooh, yes. I just started a new Haruki Murakami.
Oh, which one?
The one I never heard of. It's something about sheep. I don't know. I'll find the title.
Wild Sheep Chase, my favorite. Yes. Okay.
Oh, you read that one? Okay. We'll talk about that.
I love it. It made me cry. Right. Okay, so we can nerd about for books too. So read for 30 minutes. And so great job on You're on Fire. I could definitely use that motivation myself whenever I do a good thing. This is nice. I think this is a really great kind of pattern that I'd love to see more apps use, is that kind of hidden menu that quickly shows you the task assignment. So very cool there.
I think the only thing I would say here is that like she shows the hidden menu twice, but what we don't see is actually clicking the task off, right? So here, I think like she's kind of doubling up her completed UI, which I think again she's got the checkbox, right? She's got the little open circle. Yes. So I think to me, if I would do anything, I would say you don't need, on this first one, you just show the click on the radial button to check it off. Yep. And then you do the next thing, which is the deletion, which is the reveal, which is the drag here. Yeah. And I think that would make that a little stronger, but it's super nice.
Those are some good points. I was going to say so to carry on that subject, maybe consider, I know like, you finish the task and you want to put it on the bottom. The one thing I'll say is that it might be nice to just leave that where it was. So that way you're not looking for where that task was completed. It was where it was. Or maybe, some things I see as a delay, which might be a fun thing to try, is like you have it checked off in like where you have read for 30 minutes, you actually leave it there. And then it does a delay animation and brings it to the bottom to kind of orient the user on the fact that they did have a task there. They completed it. It's been completed, and then it kind of goes to the bottom. So some sequencing there could be pretty fun, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But nice. Yeah, overall solid.
Really nice work, Annie Ann.
Great job. Next one. Lazaros has submitted a habit app here, so let's hit play. Doer, start doing more. I like it.
Very nice. Ooh, calendar. Little.
Yep. Exercise, Udemy, go for a walk. Look at that. Scrollable groups. I like how big that checkbox is. Oh,
speaking of the delay.
Indeed.
What?
And that was very nice. Oh, yes.
Oh, nice.
I mean, overall, I think the interactions here are smooth and very intuitive and lovely.
Yeah.
I would say my biggest piece of feedback here would be typography and colors. We've been talking about colors a lot. And so even right here, I might consider, you've got a theme going in your design system, right? You've got like the green background, which is sort of the brand theme. And you have an accent color that's really helping draw the specific dynamic elements of your screen. So I would say take advantage of that. You've got clearly like some interactions here. And so instead of maybe even considering the green check, try purple. Something to kind of reinforce the fact that there's a dynamic kind of element and color, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. You get a little contrast. You could do the purple background instead of the green background, and then the two surfaces would kind of separate a little more.
Yes.
Yeah. But really nice. I'm sure there's looks like there's some components, some states going on in there. There's some nice little delay on things sort of wiping off the off the checklist, like sort of clearing off the checklist. Very nice. That's really nice.
Yep, for sure. All right, great job, Lazarus. Next one, I'm going to do them quickly because we've got several. So we've got Poco, Moonlight.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah.
Hello, Pablo. Invite friends. You've got basically days, morning ritual. Oh, these are some cute illustrations. Drink water.
Ooh, whoa, look at that spin.
That was a spin. Alarm off. Lots of little micro interactions and states here.
Wait, did the illustration change? Did the illustration change when he turned the alarm on or off?
I don't know. Hold on,
it looked like it might have. I don't know.
I'm gonna rewind. Hold up. Okay.
So no, I was imagining it. That'd be cool though.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
The illustration changed. Yeah.
And
nice.
There you have it.
Nice.
So lots of lovely state interactions on this one. Definitely a big fan of that.
Can I just say, like, how far the Daily Creative Challenge peeps have come?
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my gosh. Like, going from, like, when we first started the daily challenges, like, a year ago or more now. Like, look at this. This is amazing.
Yes.
These results are crazy.
It's amazing how people can just make such delightful interactions just as a whole, right? So, very cool. So, I would say yellow is always an interesting color to utilize. It's a little hard on the eyes, especially against a light background like white. So I might consider upping the contrast. There's some great plugins, by the way, you can look at that help do accessibility checks in XD. And so maybe leverage one of those and consider doing some contrast checks to make it more legible. I think overall, though, there's a lot of like lovely micro interactions that makes this app fun. And I think fun is something that is a huge fan of and love to see more incorporated in other experiences, which is really great.
Yep.
All right, next one. Sarah L. Thank you for submitting, Sarah L. Here we go. Got a nice streamlined, lovely calendar on top.
Ooh.
Oh.
Ooh,
See, this is why I like doing these without looking at them, because you kind of get the reaction in real time. Let's see that happen again. So you got a progress bar, which is really cool. I love that. It kind of reminds me of Duolingo, which is it's similar in that like it's kind of motivating you to get more accomplished in the long run. Sleep at least 8 hours a day. Run 30 minutes. Call mom. I like what she did here. Where let me just hit that button. Where she clicked it. It's complete. Skip and it goes away, just kind of transitions off very nicely. Very nice. Good visual hierarchy. Really like seeing the habits specifically. I'd say that with the other apps there was a lot of beautiful flourish that kind of made the app look rich. And I think in terms of like information hierarchy, like what you're seeing here with reading these habits is really well done. It is the most important action of this. The progress bar is really, really nice. And then obviously those little state changes you've had are superb. So great job.
Really nice. Really nice.
And I also like that she's leveraging the pattern you see a lot more in mobile apps, which is that swipe this way, you get one micro interaction and choice, swipe that way, you get the other one. I think that that's definitely becoming much more of a pattern. And so leveraging that in this design is super slick and awesome.
Yeah, really nice. Really nice.
Next one is Vanierker. I'm so sorry I messed it up. Let's hit play here.
Okay.
Hi, Lily. You've got 4 habits. Go to bed before midnight. Oops, that is not something that I do. Exercise 45 minutes a day. Wow, these are habits that are things we should all embrace. Get some fresh air for an hour. Also a habit that we should. It's raining today. I love the rain.
I know.
Gotta go outside.
I do too, but.
And then play the guitar, and then so she does there's a similar thing happening where if you check something off, it goes to the bottom. Same piece of feedback is maybe like thinking a little bit around the orientation of what a user may expect in terms of an element that's on the artboard, and then just kind of like reinforcing that a state change happened, and then after the state change happened, maybe then doing the reshuffling as you will. But I do love the simplicity of this app, and it's very clean and very easy to read. The colors are very simple. The actionability of the plus is really great. How you've tied it all together is really lovely. Maybe one more food for thought is upping the contrast, the weight of the typography in the center here. Making that a bit more bold would be maybe just helpful from a scan.
A little bigger might help too.
You've got a lot of space to play with there for sure. So definitely something to consider.
Yeah. One of those traps that I think we all find ourselves falling into is particularly, again, it's reinforced by the tool itself, right? Like working in these really small increments. And I was kind of talking about that a minute ago, where I was talking about kind of going big, like starting by like going a little over exaggerated. And then you can always pull it back. But there's no harm in that, right? There's no harm in like, bumping that up by, 10 pixels versus like bumping up by like 1 or 2, because 1 or 2 is not going to really show it to you any differently. You really have to make a change. Like it's pretty dramatic to see a difference, to see its impact. And so I always, like I always like when it comes to contrast, when it comes to scale, like bump it up. And then if it's too much, you can always bring it back down. But always a good place to start.
No, that's a really good piece. That's a really good point. And it's something that I definitely look at as well, right? Like the most dominant thing here to me is the high lily, and there's a really like nice thick like boldness to it, right? And it just made me want more, right? I want to see that weight come in through the checkbox. I want to see that weight come in through the highlighted stroke here. I want to see that weight in terms of just the size of the typography. And such. And so there's a lot of opportunity to just go more bold and then strip it back. I would definitely agree there. As it comes to not just this design, but just designs as a whole, for sure. So, but great work overall. Like this is really clean and really easy to navigate through. It's very lovely. All right, next one is from Harish. So let's hit play. Habit tracker. Hi, Harish. You've got 3 habits and a little running dude. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Read 10 pages a day. Read 10 pages. Read many. Oh, and there's sound. What? I can hear the sound. That was really surprising and awesome.
It up a notch. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. Okay, if you haven't seen his and you want to hear the sound, it is in the Discord. You should take a look. That was awesome and completely unexpected, which is great. So same feedback here on just kind of the boldness, right? Is like you actually have some really great bold stuff going here. And I would just, push that further, right? You have a great kind of bold sort of interactive state of well done. Go a bit farther. How much more crazy can you get, right? Yep. So, and then
you can always bring it back. You can always dial it back.
Yep.
So.
And this is awesome too. I'll have to say, this kind of speaks to the visceral kind of reaction you have when you want to when you have a checklist and you're just like, done, done, that's at least how I think of these things sometimes. So
and not like we should always be, you can kind of over rotate like on again, like the, like saying like the things that like kind of like make our brains feel good, sure. And I think a lot of apps do this where they sort of manipulate you to kind of like trying to like get that like little hit of delight and excitement in your brain. You can definitely overdo that, but I think it's always there's a nice level of that where you get this it's a real sense of accomplishment. Like I just checked all these things off.
Yep.
I want to feel good about that, so we can reinforce that with UI.
And then last but not least, this is from Sarah. So Sarah Newman, let's go. Oh my goodness, that was pretty.
Oh, that was nice.
Beautiful UI as a whole. Oh, love it.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna check all of that. Yep.
I'm gonna just check all those all day.
All of the yeah.
I mean, I'll say this is first off very beautifully aesthetically pleasing design. Very very
really
nice.
Really nice.
Love the subtlety of that kind of swipe interaction. I would say from like a feedback perspective, take advantage of more of the prototyping features that Talin's been demoing today, and really take that first interaction to the next level. So you have a really cool interactive transitioning experience that matches the visual fidelity that you've definitely demonstrated in this design.
It's got a little bit of that new morphism action going on there with those. Very nice.
Yes, it does. It's very nice. Yes. And then the last, I would say that the IA feels very clean. I think that the hierarchy is very, very clean. Maybe to the point though, I mean, this is like a preference thing, but maybe to the point of what Talin had mentioned of going bold is like, try a version that has something bold. Like I would say right now, if you look at the current design that you have, your boldest statement is that. With delete, which is great. And but there's also, if you zoom out, the sense of accomplishment and just literally what you're doing right here, which is like, I have just checked off 4 things on my list. When you have a day when you could check off 4 things on your list and it's all that's on your list, it's
a pretty good day.
That's a pretty good day.
Yeah, I think you're totally right, Jess. I think a little more differentiation, again, it doesn't have to be like high contrast between the different sections. We're going to help us understand the hierarchy a little more here, right? And I think that was maybe a comment we could apply to a couple of the other examples as well. Is I think there were a few that did the hierarchy really well, where they had kind of like a nice little intro section or like an illustration being shown off. And then there's like here's a distinct area where I can swipe between the different dates and sort of select the different dates, and then see the task list area. But really think about, again, what do I want people to do here? What's the emphasis of this experience? Yes. And in this sense, like in this case, it is the checking the boxes off, right? And so I think a little more to distinguish between these different sections and these different tasks, or what's important for the user to be paying attention to, and what's kind of like secondary or tertiary on that list of things you want them to pay attention to. I think a little more play there, a little more differentiation would really help this one sing.
Yep. But all together, lovely job
really
across the board with everyone.
Wow.
That's what I've got for. Impressed. Yeah, I know. I love looking at these because honestly, they're just so, especially given the turnaround time, they're so well done. So thank you guys for participating, and highly encourage folks on the chat to participate in the upcoming one as well with the AR app. And so, we've got a couple more minutes left, Talin. It would be good to kind of see what you're coming up with, concocting, and then from there.
Let me get this going so Paco can get back to me.
The me show.
My screen. There we go. So here we have kind of our transmission signal, and again we're gonna have a little fun here. If you guys have any other questions for us, so we only have a few more minutes, but it always seems a little daunting, right? Like 2 hours talking, but like it feels like with Jess, it just like flies by. It's like
same.
You and I sort of talking. I'm just like, wait, what can we do? Are we
on a show right now?
This is all we got? Oh, we can't do more? Oh, okay. It's over for now. All right. Well, we'll come back to that
until
later.
Next time.
But so if you guys have any questions, let us know in the chat.
Yeah, we're around in general on Twitter, whatever.
Yes, indeed we are. So I built this little, I'm just going to add just a few other little fun things here. I built this little element the other day, kind of inspired by the Midnight Gospel. And it was actually kind of fun how I did it. I wanted these little tick marks to sort of feel kind of random. And so I actually have two repeat grids that are sort of nested within a group. I've got the little tick marks things here, and then I have the little randomized blackout thing on top of it, and you can see I can just kind of drag that out, and now I have a little random pattern that I've created using 2 repeat grids here. Kind of a fun little thing.
That is pretty. I like it.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. You tune that nice.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got that there. We need some other, what else do we need? Maybe we'll do a little 3D transform here real quick. Let's just do this here, and we're gonna do that, and we're gonna take that that off. Okay. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to start with, this is like some kind of crazy, I don't know what this is yet. I'm just playing around here. Let's see what happens here. Okay. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to put those two things in the same group because I want to do something cool with them in a minute. Okay, so inside here, I've got these two things. And I'm going to turn on 3D transform, and I'm going to move this one forward like this. And then I'm going to copy that one, and then I'm going to move that one forward like that. I'm going to copy that one, and I'm going to move that forward.
This is very Inception-y. I have no idea what you're about to do.
I don't know either. I'm really just like having fun, honestly.
That's awesome. Whoa.
I'm just sort of like having, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure where we're going here with this yet, but we're gonna go and we're gonna have fun with this.
Yes.
So the really crazy thing about 3D Transform that I love, that just like kind of breaks my brain a little bit, is that these things are really transforming relative to one another. So basically they're all in their own little 3D world because they're all in a group now. So all these ellipses live inside of a group, and they kind of have their own little 3D world. And if I can show you that by actually like turning it like this.
It's like a laser beam.
Yeah, look at that.
It's like Star Trek.
Whoa. That's kind of blowing my mind a little bit. Whoa, what is going on? Okay, so we've got that. What do I want to do here? And I want to take this, and I want to do this, and put it on top, and then I'm going to mask that. Okay, so now we got some real crazy stuff going on here. Okay, I'm going to go back in here. Take this one. I'm going to bump. No, I want to go into this. I'll take that one down just a little bit. Down just a little less than that. So yeah, I'm just kind of like this is just me having fun with design tools in general. Okay, so what if I'm just making, I don't know where this is going, but what if we what if we had a little like some little kind of like control like reticle like here in the center?
Oh my goodness.
Okay. All right, little something here, and bump that up to 2.
If you ever had any doubts of us kind of winging some of this stuff, here it is. Here's the evidence right here.
Yeah, no, this is what's fun about design.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Stuff like this. Okay, and then what if we had like a little
Saturn? It's Saturn.
It's Saturn, exactly. That's subliminally. I've been thinking about the Saturn's rings. Okay, all right, so do that. I'm going to rotate that.
And as Talin is making this, I will just remind folks who are, we're at the tail end of our show, have been making for the past 2 days. I'm very distracted by I'm curious where this is going. We have been making for the past 2 days an intergalactic space application that is for folks who can tune in on what is formerly called a podcast that we have renamed as a Spacecast, where you can hear about all matters of life from anywhere from the convenience of your iPad. And the lovely, talented Talin Wadsworth has been working on this tirelessly for the past 2 days. He's our principal designer on XD, does lovely things, helped make the 3D transform come to reality, which he's now blowing our minds with I have no idea what, but so that we've been making a lot of great stuff there. We'll definitely be sharing a lot of these after the show, and if you missed yesterday or today, please catch our replays because it's a lot of good fun and a lot of design philosophies and other really weird tangents in there. So there
okay,
it is.
So you ready for this? Is the last thing I'm going to leave you all with here.
The last thing.
This is the last thing.
Okay.
So this is gonna be really, really strange, but I'm gonna do a drag interaction here on this little reticle, and then drag. I'm gonna auto-animate, and I'm gonna do snap, and this is gonna be weird. Here we go. Okay.
Whoa! It's like a video game now.
Whoa! What is going on?
What is going on? All right, that was it. There you have it. Thank you all for joining our stream today.
Fun. Thanks, everybody.
That was so fun.
So much fun, Jess, as always.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
So look, the background even works. Look at the little background behind us. It all kind of works. Yeah.
Oh.
Thanks, everybody.
Well, thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and see you all later.
See y'all.